Welcome to Dubai Startup Ecosystem Chats, powered by Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy. I'm your host, Pierre Grib, and today I'm excited to have a homegrown startup founder here with us today, in Adnane, to tell us about his story with Defuzzy Labs. Let's start maybe by getting you to introduce yourself.
So first of all, thanks for having me, Eric. My name is Adnane ElSoussi. I'm the co-founder of Defuzzy Labs, and I'm a Palestinian born and raised in the UAE.
Perfect. Thank you. Nice to meet you, and thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. So let's maybe start with your undergrad. So I understand that you've done your undergraduate degree at the American University of Sharjah. And from our little chat earlier, I understand that's where you also met your co-founders. Can you tell us about how you guys met and how you decided to start working together?
So the co-founders are myself, Salem, Khalid, and Chaba. Three of us met at the American University of Sharjah. I was doing mechanical engineering, and we had a passion towards unmanned systems. We worked on a lot of projects in university on unmanned aerial vehicles. And that's where we started working together on different projects. We had a really good working chemistry. And when we started our professional careers, we met again. It was more of a coincidence rather than by design. So Khalid and I worked at the same company, which also did marine autonomy. And we kind of continued that journey by building Defuzzy.
If you were to explain Defuzzy Labs today to someone for the first time, what would that be? And then can you tell us about whether or not there was a single aha moment that led you to move from being an employee to an entrepreneur with the other co-founders?
So Defuzzy is a marine robotics company, and our main focus is on delivering autonomy to different vehicles. Again, in the marine space, we do a lot of surface vehicles, but we also do underwater vehicles. So this is what Defuzzy is today. We're pivoting towards becoming more of a intelligent data collection company that mainly collects data at sea using robots, which we built.
Okay, interesting.
I know you asked if there was a single aha moment, so maybe I'll talk a bit about what pushed us to start Defuzzy. So I've mentioned earlier that we used to work in a company that did marine autonomy, but it was our belief that only a specific business model could really push the boundaries of this technology. And as an employee, you don't have a lot of control over that business model. And this is why we've decided to start Defuzzy, so that we can have full control of that business model and we can really develop the technology in the direction which we believed in.
Okay, interesting. And when we started talking together earlier, you said that you started mainly doing on a project basis for clients. Has the things that you build for your clients, is that the basis of the technology you'll be using for the pivot that you're currently working on of like collecting data?
So some of those things that we built for clients definitely helped us reach the stage that we are at today with the technology. At the lowest level, let's say some of the software libraries that we developed, some of the hardware components that we developed. But there's still a lot of development that needed to happen on a separate channel, let's say, to reach this stage.
Okay. So you've been running Defuzzy Labs from Sharjah, and I understand that you are planning to move to Dubai. What strategic factors have led to that decision?
So it's very specific to what we do. As I mentioned earlier, our plan is to build a fleet of unmanned vehicles, unmanned surface vehicles, unmanned boats, basically, that do data collection at sea. And in Dubai, access to boat builders is very focused in specific areas. So that makes it a lot easier for us as a business to approach these boat builders. Being around them, you have Jaddaf, you have Dubai, Maritime City. So having access to those vendors is a lot easier in Dubai.
Okay. And that's and you said you were also planning to try to keep the office in Sharjah as well.
Yes, so we're planning to keep the office in Sharjah, and operating from Sharjah has some benefits, especially when it comes to cutting down costs for ourselves and for some of our engineers. But moving to Dubai, or let's say most of our operation to Dubai, is more of a strategic move. So I didn't also mention that we also have a lot of major clients in Dubai. Yeah, and being closer to them makes the business a lot easier.
Can you walk us through obtaining your license and first permits for in-water trials? What authorities did you engage with, and how did that process match a startup speed? Can you walk us through that?
I mean, you've mentioned the startup speed, and as you know, with a startup, you have limited resources and you need to get moving as fast as you can. So what we've decided was to bypass this process by relying on optionally piloted vehicles. When I say optionally piloted vehicles, I mean boats that have a captain on board, and he's mostly our test engineer who has his driving license, who's qualified to drive that boat. And with a flick of a button, he can switch control to a remote control station, and that's how we developed our technology. So when it operates, it's operating as a normal manned boat with a captain on board, but we get to test our technology while having a safety engineer on board that vehicle.
Okay. And when we were catching up earlier, just before our chat, you mentioned that this was one of the hurdle or regulatory.
Yeah, this was one of the difficulties that we had initially to start testing the technology. But moving forward, as we started gaining traction, having better relationships with some governmental entities, we were getting permits through our clients who were already familiar with that process, and we would install our tech on their vehicles, and they already have the permits to perform these activities.
So obviously you started doing prototypes, and then you moved into, or you're aiming to move into industrial grade vessels that requires tooling, facilities, and maybe funding as well. How have you financed your operation so far?
So from day one, Defuzzy was funded by its co-founders.
Yep.
We bootstrapped this operation, and we funded it through the engineering projects that I've mentioned to you earlier, where we developed certain solutions for our clients, and the income from these projects was used to fund the internal development in Defuzzy.
Okay. We talked about supply chain earlier. How do you decide between an assembly that is local versus importing marine grades? Because I understand you build also your own hardware components. How is the UAE custom or manufacturing policy influence your supply chain strategy, or even your strategy when it comes to building some of the hardware here versus importing?
So, I mean, in general, it's the basic driving factors of any business, which influence our decisions, mainly pricing and lead time, and quality of work, obviously. In Dubai or in the UAE in general, the importing of items is very straightforward compared to other countries. We've had projects outside the UAE where we had to deliver some items, and we've faced a lot of challenges in importing these items. Whereas in UAE, the process is very clear and it's very straightforward. So that makes it very easy for us as a startup to import components that we cannot have locally made. And for some items, we rely on local partners to build these items.
Okay. And what's currently the share of the things that are built in-house versus imported?
I don't have a very specific number on that, but one thing that is worth mentioning is, again, given the specificity of what we do with marine robots, boat building capabilities in UAE are very well established. You have a lot of boat builders in UAE. I've heard the number to be exceeding 100. I'm not exactly sure of the number, but you have a lot of options when it comes to boat building. There are a lot of different manufacturers building different types of boats, different sizes and different construction methods. Aluminium boats, GRP boats. We have access to all of these facilities here in the UAE. So when it comes to building the big stuff, let's say the vessels, most of that is done locally. When it comes to the electronics that we design, we outsource manufacturing outside the UAE.
Okay. It makes it an interesting playing ground for you that is looking to build your own vessel to do data collection. And who were Defuzzy's first customers?
So we've had a number of, I would call them strategic partners, because our first clients really helped us get to the stage that we are at today. Some of them were logistic companies that did hull cleaning with ROVs. Showed you some of those videos earlier today. And we've had some support from some governmental entities within Dubai, like Dubai Future Labs. They've awarded us a number of engineering projects and a number of proof of concept demonstrations that helped us showcase our technology and develop it.
So Dubai Future Labs was one of the early supporters, as you mentioned just now and before when we had our little chat before this. And we understand that strategic partnership is very important for startups, even more like early stage. How did you land your first alliance, and has the UAE ecosystem helped? So Dubai Future Foundation helped and was part of that ecosystem, but was there other examples that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, UAE being a trade hub with a lot of international exhibitions introduced us to, a lot of different people from different parts of the world. So today we have two key partnerships. One is with a company based in the Netherlands called Albatros Robotics, and they help us get access to the European market. I mean, what's interesting in this partnership, and the one that I will talk about in a bit, is that for both of these partnerships, they were established here in the UAE. They did not happen by us, let's say, traveling to international exhibitions outside the UAE. So again, it goes to show you how global of a hub we are in today. And the global market comes to you rather than you going to it in the UAE. The other partnership that I want to talk about as well was with Key26. It's a company that's based in the UAE, but they also have an operation in France. And they develop wide area surveillance solutions. We develop and deliver a number of key components, let's say, to the products that they offer, or to the solutions that they offer.
And how key are those strategic partnerships in regards to your roadmap?
So as a startup, or in building any company, there are different aspects of that company that you need to develop. When it comes to a tech company, one of them is obviously your technical team. But you also have the other aspects, like the marketing operation, the sales operation, the business development, etc. Without key partnerships, you will have to spread thin, let's say, the resources that you have over these different aspects. Whereas when you have key partners, they can help you expand in certain areas, like Albatros Robotics gives us access to the European market. We don't have to invest in an operation to expand our sales to Europe or do business development there. So through a partnership, you can kind of develop your through a partnership, you can develop your operation without having to bear the cost of that development.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So obviously, building a company such as Defuzzy Labs, you require a specific specialist talent. We talked about control system engineering, mechanical engineers. What was your experience like recruiting such talent in the UAE? And has any of the incentives, such as the Golden Visa, helped in that process?
Yeah, so there are two things to that. So getting talent from outside the UAE to the UAE or to Dubai is it's easy for a number of reasons. When you tell a specialist that are you ready to relocate to Dubai, it's very rare that you get no as an answer. So most of the people, given how good of a city it is, they're willing to relocate to Dubai, and then getting them a work visa is never a challenge. When it comes to ingrown talent and people who've recently graduated from local universities, especially top students, most of them get the Golden Visa today. And this has made it a lot easier for us to have them join on board. You don't have to, again, take them through the work visa process. They can just join for a trial period under a temporary work contract, and then if they're happy, we're happy, they can stay with us. So these two things make it very easy for us.
Yeah, it's good
to get talent.
Yeah, okay. So as a first-time founder, what were some of the lessons you learned along the way in your entrepreneurial journey that you'd like to share with startup founders, wannabe startup founders, or startup founders that have already, started the journey?
So perseverance is key. There will be a lot of really tough moments in starting a business. It's not easy to start a new business. So my advice would be to make sure that you have, let's say, the factors that can help you persist through these tough times, either savings or other sources of income. I believe this would be a good piece of advice to give to anyone starting new business. So make sure you have a safety net.
Yeah, this one comes back often, yeah. And then for founders that are building hardware-driven startups, would you recommend Dubai? And what would be some of the advice or things they should be prepared to face as they set up here or launch their business
here?
So
in Dubai, you'll find a lot of early adopters. People are not afraid to try new things. And that's amazing for people who are developing new technology. But the challenge remains, and it's, I believe to be a global one, to convince investors to put money into a hardware startup, a startup that's doing technology, but with a focus on hardware. That's always difficult because the gains are delayed. You don't get any instant gains out of it. And the risk is high, just like any other technology startup. So yeah, getting investors is challenging for this kind of a business, but getting early adopters and early clients, that's not difficult here in Dubai.
And then you mentioned earlier that you guys were obviously pivoting part of the business or changing the business model. What's next for Defuzzy Lab moving forward? So you mentioned.
So as I mentioned, it's difficult to get investors to join you from the early on, mainly because of the development cycle. So our strategy was to get to a point where we have proven technology, show investors that we have proven technology that works, that's already been deployed in the market, and then do the pivot that we've been always thinking about. The pivot that we're thinking about is to, again, switch from a marine robotics company that sells robotics and engineering solutions to an intelligent data gathering company. So we collect data at sea using the robots that we develop. And that way we become more of a company that sells the data rather than a company that sells the robots or parts of a robot.
So as part of that change in business model or direction for the company, are you guys looking for funding today?
Yeah. So to do that pivot, so I missed that point. So to do that pivot, there needs to be a lot of investment put into building these robots, acquiring the sensors that are required to be installed on these robots, and some more further development that needs to be done to these robots. I refer to these unmanned boats as robots just to clear any any ambiguity here.
Is there a dream or like a long-term goal that you'd like to see you guys achieve?
I would like to see us becoming, as I mentioned, a data collection company which provides analytics using, again, robots as its backbone. But we would like to eventually collect data in different domains, above water, underwater, and in the air, maybe one day in space.
Okay, interesting. And then, so you'll start here in the UAE. Obviously the goal is to expand. Is that what you guys are aiming to also do?
Definitely, yeah. So the plan is to start here in the local market and hopefully expand to the regional market and from there to the global one.
But thank you very much for taking the time. It was lovely getting to know you and then learning about Defuzzy Labs. You guys are doing some amazing stuff here. And I wish you all the best for the future endeavor.
Thanks a lot.
If you enjoyed this content, continue listening or watching to future episodes where we speak to many of Dubai's startup founders, investors, and digital economy and startup ecosystem enablers. Also, the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy has published an annual startup guide to help answer any questions you may have on how to register and start a company in Dubai. Download the guide now at the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy website.